So I'm Jonathan Alferness. I lead up our mobile display ads products at Google, and I have Russ Ketchum with me here. Russ is on the Google Analytics team. We've been doing an awful lot of work across Google to make game development as easy as possible for all of you. You've heard of a lot of great things already about how we're taking a lot of the mundane, everyday work out of what you're doing, trying to enable all of you guys to focus on what's really important, right? Creating these amazing games and getting them out there. We're going to spend the next 30 minutes or so talking about some of the advancements that we're delivering in AdMob across a whole variety of different tools to, again, minimize the pain that you guys have to deal with in terms of monetizing your applications. An awful lot to talk about, so let's get started. So AdMob and game developers goes back a long, long time. I've been working with AdMob for the last 3 years or so. Google's held on or has owned AdMob for the last 4 years. But going even further back than that, AdMob and game developers have had a long-lasting relationship. The other thing that's really nice here is that advertisers love reaching out and engaging with users in these types of environments, right? You guys build these amazing games. You know how immersed these users are, right? And advertisers having access to this audience has really been a great partnership as well. Over the course of the last few years, in general, we've been delivering about 50% of the revenue generated through AdMob, through Google's in-app advertising suite, has flown to game developers, right? So that's a phenomenal way that game developers have been able to continue to monetize, to continue to create these phenomenal experiences. But we're all here talking today because this industry keeps marching forward and it keeps changing out from underneath us, right? And in fact, even though by the end of this year, more than $18 billion will flow through mobile advertising systems, we understand that the mobile app and the game economy is changing as we speak. In fact, Bob was up here and talked us through example about how all of this is changing right out from underneath us. Let's talk about at least 3 factors here that we're adapting to at Google and at AdMob. Right, the first is users. Users are clearly voting with their fingers. These are touch devices after all, so that works. And in fact, Bob's example showing you where we went from a 99-cent game to a free game with an app purchase, and how that spiked installs is a great example for how users are voting. Users are voting to actually download and install free games, freemium games, well more than they are premium games. That's the first shift that we're seeing in the market. The second is from a revenue perspective. Anybody out there who's employing in-app purchases in their games understands this, right? The amount of revenue that's being generated through in-game purchases is soaring. And this has come on rather quickly, and in some extremes, it's making up as much as 90% or more of a game developer's revenue. That's a very important fact, and we're going to come back to that in a second. And the third thing is developers. I remember when I first took on the AdMob business at Google, and I was rather surprised whenever I would talk to my publishers or my advertisers. It was all about just get me as many installs as you possibly can. I don't care. Get me as many installs as you possibly can, as cheap as humanly possible. And here I'm scratching my head, having worked on online advertising my whole life, and said, well, but doesn't it matter what kind of users you install? I mean, after all, you want to get value out of the users that you're paying to install. And that has been a fundamental shift, I'd say, in the last 2 years, right? The shades have been pulled back from people's eyes. And as developers, you all understand that it's the types of users that you acquire that are fundamental to the types of experiences that you build and how well that game can monetize. We're going to talk a lot about that users piece as well as we keep moving forward. So we've invested a ton in this ecosystem already, but it's just the beginning, right? So again, in 2010, Google acquired AdMob. It took us a little while, but by 2012, we had already plugged all of those AdMob app developers, largely game developers, into the vast million-plus advertisers that we have on the AdWords platform. And we continued these integrations over the last couple of years as well, so that AdMob is now an integral part of the Google advertising ecosystem with AdWords, with our display ads products. And at the end of last year, at the end of 2013, we relaunched the AdMob publisher platform, now sitting on top of Google hardware, Google software, and Google data centers. And it has opened up the door so that we can continue to innovate and produce and create more tools for you guys moving forward. it's nice to sort of think that a lot of this mundane work is behind me and the team. Now that we're on these platforms, we can innovate even more quickly. So we're going to talk you through the future. 2014 is where we're starting to release some of these new features. We're going to talk more about those now. But you can think about AdMob as being the app developer platform across Google where we're going to connect you not just to monetization tools, but to all of the tools that you guys need to succeed as game developers. Again, we're trying to take as much of this work away from you guys as possible. You're certainly welcome to do it if you'd like, so that you can focus on creating these truly phenomenal games. So we're going to talk about 3 specific areas here, right? And this lines up, at least it should line up, with what we're seeing in the industry right now. The first is how important it is to understand your audience. We're going to give you tools to do this. Right, a lot of this comes back to the fact that different users engage in your games in different ways. Understanding the value of your users is critical to being able to optimize those experiences. Right? And it's also critical to understand how to segment your audience into individual populations such that you can take different action on those populations. Because of the importance of in-app revenue, we're doing a ton to help you guys focus and maximize and grow this in-app revenue. And it depends on understanding who those users are. And these 2 features are going to be very nicely coupled together. And last, you know, it is all about maximizing revenue across the spectrum. Right? You guys want to make sure you're not leaving any money on the table such that you can continue to pour these resources back into developing great games. And we're going to talk you through how to do that, not just with Google demand sources, but also across a variety of third-party ad networks as well. So at Google, we've been working hard, not just on the AdMob team, but with a whole suite of partners, most importantly, with our Google Analytics friends and partners, to do a truly phenomenal integration. I'd like to bring Russell Ketchum up on stage to talk us through that first piece. Russ, why don't you come on up?
Woohoo! Thanks, Jonathan. So yeah, as Jonathan just introduced me, I'm Russ Ketchum. I'm the lead product manager for Google Analytics for apps and also Google Tag Manager. But I'm here with the AdMob team today because I get to really announce something that both of our teams are really excited about and that we've had to be quiet about for a little too long. So today I get to take the wraps off a new version of AdMob that we're going to be rolling out here in the next couple weeks that introduces Google Analytics and AdMob as one seamless experience. So the result is we're committing to AdMob becoming this single destination at Google for cross-platform developers' monetization, promotion, and now analytics needs. So something I want to just kind of highlight right from the beginning is this isn't a lightweight version of Google Analytics or a handful of reports. This is everything that Google Analytics has built for app developers, fully available inside AdMob. If you're already one of the developers using using Google Analytics, we have hundreds of thousands of apps on both iOS and Android who are doing it. This is your new best place to access your Google Analytics data. And so why are we doing this? It's not just about making reports easier to get to. I mean, of course, that's nice. But it's actually not just something that's a nice to have for developers at this point. It's a requirement. You need to have your rich in-app user data at your fingertips at all times. So you need to be able to quickly glean insights about your users and then take action about them. And so that's why Google Analytics is now in AdMob. So I want to highlight just a tip of the iceberg of some functionality that I'm going to preview now. We're going to hear more about it from Jonathan, and then we have 2 different sessions on Google Analytics this afternoon starting at 2:30 that I would invite everybody to come back to that really goes into detail. But as a preview, what we're looking to do with Google Analytics can be seen through our user segmentation engine, our audience segmentation engine. So Google Analytics has incredibly robust segmentation ability. In fact, you can create over 1,000 segments for an individual app. And when you do that, you can fully describe your user base. You can compare one group of users to another. You can see what makes them similar, what makes them different, and really what makes them tick. And what you want to do is you want to use this data to take action when it matters. And like I said, we've got a bunch of stuff we'll be previewing this afternoon that shows you how to do that. But for now, I want to really stress how easy it is for you to get going with Google Analytics in AdMob. So I'm going to jump to just a series of slides that talks us through that. So just to get everybody oriented, this is what AdMob looks like today. And you can see the 3 main tabs there across the top, where you have Home, Monetize, and Promote. So in just a few weeks, we're going to be unveiling the Analyze tab. And so this is really the face of Google Analytics inside AdMob. And so what I'm going to do is just step you through the process to get started with analytics for the first time. So there's 2 ways I can start, either just by clicking on the Analyze tab or that promotional message you're seeing there at the top right. And once I do, and once the screen changes, there we go, I'm taken to the sign-up page. We've taken the entire Google Analytics sign-up and have reduced it to 2 steps. So all of the key information's here. Google Analytics is really well known for its data sharing policies, the fact that we give developers ownership of their data and they can choose then to share that back with Google to different features. That's all here. If you're using Google Analytics already, you can go ahead and link to an existing account right here. But if you're not, with just 1 click, you can go ahead and accept the terms of service, and you get a quick set of instructions about what to do next. And it's really quick. It's really just 1 line. Once you continue, you land on this next page, and this is the app setup screen. This gives you everything you need to use Google Analytics in your app from 1 screen. You see it automatically the first time, and it's always available from our left nav from that point forward. So from here, you can download the SDKs, you can download our easy-to-use developer guides, and of course, your tracking IDs that you're going to use in your individual apps. And with that information, you can start monitoring your in-app user behavior in about 5 minutes. That's how quick it is to get going with the Google Analytics SDKs. So once I've done that, this is really the heart of it. So this is Google Analytics reporting inside AdMob. From this point forward, whenever I click the Analyze tab, I'm taken right here. At the top left, you have an app picker. I mean, Google Analytics is a very robust digital analytics platform. You can track websites. You can track really anything thanks to our universal analytics platform. But with this, we're putting the focus entirely on apps. So that drop-down menu that you can kind of make out at the top left, that gives you all of your AdMob apps, and you can easily just switch from one to another. There's also a brand new feature for Google Analytics in here as well that allows you to report across all of your apps. And that reporting, that setup is all taken care of automatically just through that process I stepped through. So here we're looking at our app overview report. This is the basic view in Google Analytics. There's literally dozens and dozens of other reports there in the side nav. I'm not going to go through them now, but that's what we have the sessions for later today. So to bring it back full circle, we find ourselves back on the AdMob Home tab. So Analyze is here, and you'll notice at the left, where there was a promotional message and there were only 2 columns of metrics below it, we're now seeing all of our key Google Analytics metrics brought together in one single place. It's a true cross-product and cross-app dashboard for the first time, and we're pretty excited. You guys excited? You guys sound lukewarm, but we're going to get you there. So I'm going to invite Jonathan back up to actually talk about how we can start using some of this data in context. Thanks.
Thanks, Russ. That was awesome, man. This is great. We've been excited about this for a long time. And again, right, it's about a comprehensive package. Right? It's not just about monetizing across the board and making everything feel the same for all users. What we've learned at Google, what I know you guys know as well, is that it's really critical to understand these users at the user level, right? Break them into buckets, break them into audiences, and be able to do things differently with that. Google Analytics takes us so far in that direction, and I am sure that you guys are going to unlock all kinds of magic with this integration. We couldn't be more excited about what we're talking about here today. Let's move on. Let's talk about the next big announcement, and that forms around in-app purchase. There's a conundrum here. There's a problem, and you'll see the lead-in and why analytics is so important in a second, right? Anybody who has in-app purchases in a game understands that the vast majority of users are not paying for these purchases. It's rather odd. It's a very small percentage of users who likes to purchase these elements in games. We ran a survey that said about, 15% of users across games broadly are the users who are actually purchasing in-game. We've certainly seen stats and examples where that 15% looks huge, where some games it's as small as 1% or even less than 1% of users who are not only the only users making these in-app purchases, but if you go back to the amount of volume and revenue that's coming through in-app purchases, those tiny slices of users are the primary monetization vehicles for these applications. So you've got maybe 5, 10, 15% of your users who you want to be able to show in-app purchases because they will engage. But what do you do with the rest? What do you do with the other 85, 90, 99% of users? Well, I think the industry norm, we have lots of examples like this, you segment your users. For those users who are going to engage in in-app purchases, it's quite a good experience for them, right? Show them in-app promotions. But for the remaining segment of users, it's sort of their responsibility to help you guys monetize as well. After all, they're playing this game for free as well. And typically what folks have been doing more and more is they've been segmenting, so that larger chunk of users ends up seeing in-game ads, advertisements, and the world is working hard at making the ads that show up inside games, inside applications much, much better. We'll talk a little bit about what we're doing at Google, but think app promo, think promotions for other games and things like that as well, right? Things that can actually be very useful to those users. So what we're announcing here is the ability to do this, right? Not just the segmentation that Russ was talking about, but the ability to act on that segmentation inside AdMob. It's pretty freaking cool, right? So you'll be able to segment these users, use business logic to help understand the buckets, and then figure out what you're going to do and what you're going to serve to each user. Let's walk you through an example. So first and foremost, you need to find a way to define who your special or premium users are. And with Google Analytics, as Russ just talked us through, this is a piece of cake. But we want to make it easy no matter what you do, so you can even do some of this basic segmentation through AdMob alone. In this case, right, we're going to find our premium users, and we're going to define these premium users as folks who've played the game in the last 24 hours, folks who've purchased in the past, they have a propensity to purchase again, and in this case, they're stuck on level 10. Well, there's a great opportunity to put a purchase in front of this user. So let's talk about how we'd actually do that. So the first thing that you do is once you've actually segmented your users, as I said before, the user's playing the game. The user's going to run into this fail mode. Again, this is level 10. They failed. They couldn't get through it. Now what do? Now you use our in-app purchase tools inside AdMob to sell them the item. In this case, we love our exploding pixies. They'll blow up all the blocks on the board on level 10, and you'll get through this, right? And you'll also, make a lovely $1.99 from these users who've already been shown to engage on these in-app purchases in the past. Great. So what do I do with the rest of my users? Okay, well, they're going to play the game as well. In this case, they fail. Could be anywhere, but in this case, it's level 10. And we know that they don't have that tendency to buy. So these guys have been segmented into the other bucket. And again, the in-app purchase tools inside AdMob allow us to show them ads, right? Big, bold, beautiful. In this case, it's an app promotion ad. It's an interstitial, much like we showed in the previous case. For those of you out there who don't know, interstitials really seem to be growing, not just in popularity with developers like all of you, but in popularity with users as well. At first, it seems a little bit counterintuitive. Well, shit, this ad's an awful lot bigger than a banner ad. How can users actually like this experience more? Well, banner ads tend to be in the midst of gameplay. They tend to distract users from what they might be seeing as they're immersed in these experiences. Interstitial ads line up very similar to what we've all grown accustomed to with television. I watch 15 minutes of television, and if I don't have TiVo, I sit there and I watch about 3 minutes of commercial, and then I go back to the television, right? Commercials are, frankly, interstitials, and the nice thing about it in-game and in-app is that you can choose where the interstitials show up. So you can interrupt the user at an appropriate time. At this point, at the end of the level, okay, if the user doesn't care about this particular ad, it is no problem for her to simply close the interstitial. But if they do, it's the right time for an interruption. I just wanted to make sure I did a shout out for interstitials because we're pretty excited about this, both from a revenue perspective, but also from a user quality perspective. So that's our in-app purchase work, and we're really excited, again, to give you guys the building blocks, the frameworks that you need so that you don't have to build this logic inside your apps, inside your games, right? Let us do this hard work for you. Okay, how many of you out there actually do show ads in your games? In-game advertising. Advertising, yeah. Okay, so there's some of you. There's some others who won't admit it. How many of those who had their hands up actually use more than a single demand source, more than one ad network? And if you're advertising, yeah, come on, just about all of you. You know this problem, and my guess is you know this problem very, very well. All the different ad networks that you're bringing in, they perform differently. And unfortunately, it's not like they just perform differently and then they maintain that constant performance across time. that would make life way too easy. These ad networks perform differently given time of day of week, geography, etc. And if you're doing everything that you possibly can to make sure that you're monetizing in full, you're constantly tweaking the stack rank, the mediation, the waterfall of all these different ad networks. And if you're really smart, you've got different setups for different geographies, different setups for different games, different setups for different times of the week. It sounds like too much work, especially to us at Google, who've gotten really, really good at being able to automate this stuff and maximize revenue. So the next feature that we're announcing today is a substantial step to improve the efficiency of ad network optimization. Inside AdMob, we'll have a new ad network optimization feature. And what we're doing is we're continuing to work with these third-party ad networks. We understand that you're getting different types of demand through different networks around the world, that the app economy has not yet converged on things like ad exchanges the way the desktop world has. So we're embracing this, but we're trying to do this in a much smarter way. We've built a ton of plugins, adapters, APIs, so that we can go and we can pull data from these third-party ad networks as close to real time as possible, while balancing and managing the trade-offs between our systems and the ad network systems. But this gives us the ability to constantly reorder and restack this rank of ad networks based on the trends that we're seeing. And if you think into the future, Google's awfully good at using machine learning to be able to predict trends. So we're working on bringing that predictability into our ad network optimization algorithms as well. So this is great, and given that I have a number of static ad networks that I'm pulling in demand from, at least my computer science brain tells me this is about as optimal as I can get until I go through a single exchange. Except there's one other piece, which is Google's demand. So Google has demand coming in through AdWords, third parties, a whole variety of different demand sources. So what are we going to do with that with respect to these third-party ad networks? So that's a feature that we're calling Live CPM. It's pretty cool if you think about it, right? We know before serving the ad at least what we think each of these ad networks is going to return in terms of value. We don't know for sure whether or not they're going to actually have an ad, but we know the upper bound roughly of what the value from each ad network is going to be. Yet what we know with a lot more precision, what we know with 100% accuracy, is what Google's demand sources can fill this impression with, and what the value of that will be. So the Google demand actually floats through the lines of third-party ad networks here, and it gets plugged in at exactly the right place. So if your top third-party ad network is going to monetize better than that Google demand source, fine. We'll go and we'll request the ad from the top ad network, and we'll show that one. If that ad network had no ad and the Google Live CPM was the second one in line, then we'll go and we'll bring that piece of Google demand in to fill that impression. Again, it's a really fundamental change. It enables optimization. It enables maximizing revenue without you guys sitting there calling up your friends. Okay, what are you getting from ad network A? Oh, shit, I was getting this. What's their fill rate? Oh, okay. What's the probability? Okay, I'm going to put him here, him. Just let us figure this out for you. We're completely transparent. You'll see the data that we're doing. We're not trying to play any games behind the scenes, but we're just trying to take away one more piece of pain. And keep in mind that this live CPM really enables us to squeeze the maximum value out of the system by looking at the exact value that Google's demand can offer any impression, any user that you have. It's pretty cool work. In fact, we've had this in beta now with a number of our game developers, our app developers, and some have seen as much as a 200% lift in revenue. Now, you're not necessarily going to get that across the board, but I can guarantee you today that you're leaving money on the table that our new ad network optimization features will help you bring off and reinvest into the great games that you're building. So the last thing that I want to announce today, it is a crazy world that you guys are helping create and innovate and constantly move forward. The trends are changing at enormous speeds, and it's hard for all of us to keep up. So at Google, we've worked incredibly hard to deliver what we're calling the App Developer Business Kit. And this works for app developers, but also for game developers. We're talking through the trends. A lot of what Bob was up here talking about ahead of Russ and I are going to be in here. So trends, information for you to use, for you to share with your marketing teams, for you to share with your executives, as well as tips and tricks for how to think about building not only truly engaging and compelling experiences, but the kit goes into a lot more detail explaining what we've glossed over at high levels here, so you know how to squeeze every last dollar out of your app, so that you can be fully maximizing the revenue that you're getting, but also keeping your users engaged, keeping them coming back time and time again, so that you can build not just a successful single game, but you can build an entire empire, an entire enterprise of games moving forward. We're really excited about this. Take a look. It's live right now on google.com/admob. Again, just to repeat, because I know you guys have lunch and I know you've been in here all morning. First and foremost, we are giving you tools to fundamentally unlock insights and understand the users that you have in your games today. And that is driven by Google Analytics and Google Analytics fully integrated into our AdMob publisher platform. Second, we're going to enable you to grow this great in-app purchase revenue that many of you are already capitalizing on, to leverage the segmentation and the user understanding tools from Google Analytics and bring that in proper so that you can do the right things for the right users at the right time. And last, we're helping you maximize your revenue across both of these segments of users, but also across Google demand sources and third-party ad networks to the fullest possible at this point in time. Thank you guys so much. We're really excited about this. We'll be hanging around in the back if you guys have questions. With that, really appreciate it.